Good evening everyone, another live stream once again here from Chequered Simsports, and bringing the action back from the ASRC Formula 3 World Series Championship, and we're midway through the season as we visit Silverstone Grand Prix circuit as we venture through Europe. Last round visiting the Red Bull Ring, of course, and that was some spectacular racing from all involved. We had plenty of overtakes with the slipstreams up the mountain at the Red Bull Ring, and safe to be sure that Silverstone is going to be providing us with some very similar situations. Very high speed corners to be had here, along with some very long straights, especially up through Vale and also down the Hamilton Straight. So expect loads of slipstreaming, loads of overtakes like we've seen before. And we are in for two races this evening. Once again, same as before, we have a small sprint race, 20 minutes long, followed by the feature race, which is 30 minutes. In terms of how the points are set out, or how they are awarded to the drivers, same as last round. You get the first top 10 get points, and then you can get one for the fastest lap. Points are also awarded for qualifying, and then for the feature race, we have a much larger haul of points, 25 to be exact, and running down all the way through those top 10 positions. Before we head down to qualifying though, that's what's going on at the moment as the drivers start to set their first ever flying laps. Let's quickly touch on the standings for Red Bull Ring. So that's 3 rounds completed, 6 races in total, and it is Patrick Hanko that leads in Royal Blue Racing Car. 74 points on the board. He took victory at Red Bull Ring, and then a second place for the feature race. So a nice haul of points that time round. He's had 3 victories out of 6 races so far. Then in second place is Francesco for the RF2 car. 55 points on the board. No wins, but very consistent pole position. Second place, 4 out of 5 results. Unfortunately, DNF at Autopolis after suspension damage. P3 belongs to Valerio Ferraris. 50 points on the board, so very close to his teammate because they're both on the same team. Again, 2 podium positions, 3rd places, the rest of them consistently within the top 10, so scoring some nice solid points there for RF2. And then Joao Fentas in the Toyota Gone Sport car is 4th place, 40 points on the board. Unfortunately no wins, but consistent point scoring again. Luca Martino, RF2, rounding up those top 5 positions. He had a victory at Okayama, but unfortunately hasn't actually scored many points. Suspension damage and a DNF at Autopolis and at the Red Bull Ring has meant that his championship is somewhat damaged by those 2 factors. However, he is still in the fight. He still can easily move up the order before the season is done. And then, of course, just touching on the last top 10, we have Vladislav Zenkov, 35 points. Peter Zubek, 35 points. Antonius for Scuderia Kappa Racing, 35 points. All those 3 guys all tied for 6th place on the standings. Gerald Batalla for Royal Blue Racing, his teammate as a championship leader, P9, and then Golem Rigo for advanced competition in P10. So once again, we have extremely close standings here as we get to the halfway point of the season. Again, we are at Silverstone. Nürburgring is up next as the final round for Europe, and then we head down south to Sydney and Australia, of course, for Melbourne, and then New Zealand, where the final will be. So then, the guys are out there on qualifying at the moment. It is about 5 minutes in, 15 minutes qualifying session for the guys out there, so they're about halfway through at the moment. And it is once again Patrick Hanko that is leading the way. So he's got a nice time set on the board early on. 1:43.291 is the time to beat for now. Peter Zubek, the teammate, is close behind as well. Just by 0.068 seconds to be exact for the 22, so very close times coming in here at Silverstone. It's going to be very fast lap times from all involved, hopefully. Luca Martino sits P3 with a 1:43.6. He's got to find an extra 0.3 seconds in order to claim that pole position, and then it's a fairly large gap to 4th place, which is Francesco in the 15 car, unfortunately. And he's currently on another outlap, so he may improve before the time is up. Now, once the guys get up to speed and they find their groove, so to speak, we'll go on board with one of them and take you around this great circuit. It's actually my home circuit, one of my favourites. I've raced here in real life a few times as well, twice to be exact, one in the GP, one in the National. Very great circuit, loads, especially through Magnets and Beckett. It's one of the best complexes of corners I've ever experienced so far. So I'm sure these guys are going to have a lot of fun finding some extra few tenths and finding some time through these. So we're following Francesco at the moment. He's P4, but 1.2 seconds off our leader's time. So a lot to find, but let's see if he can do it as we wait for him to start his next flying lap. Several others still going around as well. Valerio Ferraris going strong at the moment. He is on 1:44.8, so looks like most of the Armed Zebra cars are sitting tidy within the top 5 positions. Some nice constructors points for them if they can bring that into the race sessions, but we'll see how they get on. Okay, on board now with Francesco. Let's go on board with qualifying. We'll take you around Silverstone while we have the chance. So you come across the new Hamilton straight, then through Abbey, which is an immediate right-hand turn, followed by a left farm curve, then slow things extremely quickly down for Village. This is basically just shy of a 180 turn, followed by the loop, which is another 180. This is a really important corner here. Gets it a bit squirrely wrong, and then power down onto the Wellington straight. This is a very old part of the circuit, one of the that's been pretty much there since the original layout, and all the way down into Brooklands. Heavy braking zone again, but you must brake as late as possible. Ride that inside curb, cut it short for the setup for Luffield, which is another very important corner. So rise up into the mid-circuit and then swoop back down to the apex before coming onto Woodcote and towards the old start-finish straight. On to Copse then. This is of course where Verstappen and Hamilton had that massive incident in the Formula 1 world, and no incident here for Francesco as he sets a purple first sector. Mags and Beckett's here, switching from left to right immediately, carrying the speed through, aggressive on the left hand curb to then set yourself up for Chapel, and then you have to ease on the throttle onto the back straight. This is the hanger straight towards Stowe. Another great overtaking opportunity here as you fly down this straight at full speed in these Formula 3 cars, and then over to the left. Look for the 50-metre board. That's your braking zone as you reach the curbing. Carry the speed through, not much braking required here. Carry it over, not too much because you will get a warning from race control, and then slam on the anchors for Club, which is a very technical corner. Very tricky to get this right. Stay away from those sausage curbs. Carry the speed over to the left hand side because that will set you up for the final corner across the Hamilton straight, and it is P3 there for Francesco, so it is an improvement. 1:43.291 was the time to beat. He managed a 43.381, so just shy of taking pole position that time by 0.090 seconds. Very close indeed. Brilliant lap there for RF Zebra Racing. He's immediately been demoted by Royal Blue Racing this time though. Peter Zubek now going up. Oh, sorry, Martino's gone into. Luca Martino has actually claimed pole position now. So The ARMS cars now starting to put some solid pace. He has demoted Patrick Hanko and Peter Zubek down into second and third place. So Peter Zubek demotes his teammate, Patrick Hanko, down into third. So getting very quick here now as we get into the latter stages of qualifying. Patrick Hanko is on a purple lap, it seems, at the moment. He's come across the start finishing line. What's it going to be for him? He's going to on pole once again. 1:42.952. A new fastest lap there for Royal Blue Racing as he regains his dominance in what has been a very good season so far for Patrick. And he's now set the new benchmark. Still very close to Martino in the 77 though. 0.056 seconds between the front running guys. Moving over to Valerio Ferraris, he's on a fast lap at the moment, P5 currently, as he sets his personal best through Sector 1. It's in 28.6, a bit slower than what we've seen, but certainly on pace for the top 5 positions, that's for sure. Now coming through Maggots and Beckett's. Looked like he got a slightly wrong on the exit of Chapel before coming onto the hangar straight. Again, a vital corner. Everything you do wrong through Chapel will amplify itself. Coming down the Hangar Straight, it's very crucial you get the exit of that to perfection. Coming through Sector 2, another personal best, 45.152. That's a fair margin of pole position. Patrick Hanko set a 45 for Sector 2 for his flying lap, but you need to do better than that if you're going to catch up to the rest of these guys. Coming through across the start finishing line, Valerio Ferraris, he is staying in P5 for now, 1:44.134. So not a great lap, but still, it is an improvement for the 35. Other people still in the pits now. So we have 3 minutes still left before we conclude the qualifying session, before going into the warm-up and our first race of the evening. Now Peter Zubek is on his out lap, so he's going for one last shot at pole position. He was good enough to win at Red Bull Ring last week. 26 points, that's a huge haul, so he did get the fastest lap as well. Unfortunately, he didn't attend Okayama, which is the second round of the series, hence why he is in 7th place, but a very good driver. Had a bit of a rough day at Red Bull Ring for the first sprint race, coming home P12, but he's still in the running here as he is tied for 6th place. He can easily move up into those podium positions if he has a good weekend this evening. So we will go on board with Zubek as he starts his flying lap. He's just coming through the final sector now. He's just trying to set his car up. Make sure all those tyres are up to temperature. All the dials are set correctly. Brake bias, the lot. And then you can give it everything you've got. Quick switch back to the right to try and get the power down nice and early. And here we go, on to the Hamilton Straight. Starting now for the final time. Qualifying is only a minute or so left before it concludes through turn 1. Very nicely done through Abbey, farm curve. Over to the left hand side he goes, into Village. Seems like he was almost bouncing off the rev limiter there as he tries to find that extra tenth or two. Through the loop he goes. Make sure you get onto power nice and early, which he does. Nicely done there through Aintree and on to Wellington Straight. We'll get the times coming through as he comes towards Brooklands and Luffield. And we'll see if he's improved on his personal best. Yes, he has. It's a 28.579. It isn't a personal best, but he's got at least another tenth to find in the second and third sectors if he's to take Patrick Hanko's podium position away. Through Copse he goes, chucks the car in very aggressively there. You saw a slight wiggle from the rear, but the aero catches it once more and back underway. Maggers and Beckett's next. Very important complex of corners. I think someone... Oh, he's actually made a big mistake here coming into Chapel. The car's all over the place as it tries to wrestle itself back into order. Through the corner he goes. We'll have the next time. Yeah, he's completely lost it. A lot of time lost there. 44.361. That is not good news for his podium popes. And through Vale, using all the curbing available on the left-hand side. Can he bring it together in the third sector? That is the question. Very aggressively into club corner. Hits the curb very nicely on the inside. Switches it back. Pounds the accelerator as he comes across the start-finishing line. What's it going to be for Peter Zubek? Final time across the start-finish. And it is a 1:43.158, staying in third place. It was all about that second sector, wasn't it? It just didn't come together, unfortunately. And he will have to settle for third place. Very good result still for Peter Zubek, in a very strong position, but surrounded by Arms Zebra cars. So that's probably where that action is going to take place. A few cars still going around though. Rigo in the number 12 for advanced competition, coming through Maggers and Beckett's as we speak. And big puffs of smoke as he gets it all wrong on the entry into the of Beckett's. My apologies. He is actually quite fast coming through. He's way off pace for the overall time, but he has improved in Sector 2. Comes across the start finishing line and still 8th place at the moment as we conclude qualifying. There's still a few cars still going around at the moment. Peter Zubek is still on a flying lap, although he is not improving on his personal best, so he will stay in third place. Patrick Hanko doesn't need to be setting any faster laps, but he's still going for one more, it seems. And he's set a Sector 1 time, which is way off pace at the moment. I think he's going to decide to bail out of this one, surely. He doesn't need to be out here. He's already secured pole position. And Rigo's still going for it, though. At the moment, he's improved. No, he's actually slightly slower than his personal best through Sector 1. Yeah, it's a 1.1 seconds off pole position, it seems, for advanced competition. He needs to find another 10th or at least half a second to go up to P6, where Zenkov currently resides. And it's still not an improvement there for second sector for Rigo, unfortunately. So he will remain where he is. There's no personal bests coming on this time by. And of course, with qualifying now concluded, we'll expect him to go into pit lane, which he does indeed. Patrick Hanko probably doing the same. Yes, he does. So that is the end of qualifying, ladies and gents. As the drivers now come in to the pits. Well, that is the end of qualifying, ladies and gents. Let's run through the results as we now enter the warm-up session. 5 minutes before we go into our first event event sprint race for the evening. Bring up the starting order then. So as of qualifying, it is Patrick Hanko setting the fastest time ahead of Luca Martino. Very close between those two, Peter Zubek and then Francesco in the second RF2 car, rounding up those two front rows for you. Then the sister car of Valera Ferraris for RC, but rounding out those top 5, followed by Zenkov Racing in P6, Christian Olare-Lepping in P7, and then Rigo coming home in 8th. P9 goes to Vadim Steblin, Victor Cabello in P10, Alex Meloni good enough for 11th, just outside those top 10, and then Joama Fentus in P12. P13 goes to Christian for the Racing Matters Most team, and that rounds out your grid for this evening. Worth noting as well, of course, that It is reverse grid for the first sprint race. The top 12 positions will be rotated, so you will be a completely different grid for the first half of this evening's race. Then when we go to the feature race, which will be 30 minutes long, completely different set of circumstances, and that is where you will get your original qualifying grid as you would expect it. So just once again, you are currently tuning in to the Formula 3 World Series hosted by ASRC. Great bunch of guys, and expecting fair weather from all of this evening. So no rain in this particular event. And if you are interested in joining these guys or giving them a chance to bring you some racing action, because of course we do love a good organiser, and they're a great bunch of guys, I'm sure they'll be happy to help you get onto the racing circuit and tune in for the next event. If you are interested, all the links are in the description below for you. You can get in touch with the guys through any of the links. They've got Discord, Facebook, and if you do enjoy their events and you want to keep them going, they have Patreon link as well down there for you. You can keep their servers running, which is always great to do. Sim racing is hard enough to do in these times as it is, and finding a good bunch of people is difficult. So by all means, get in touch with them via those ways. If you have any favourites for this particular race, or if you're hoping someone wins, anyone that you support, then feel free to let us know in the chat below. I'm sure they'd love to know that you're here. If you have any favourites to support them and follow their results. And let's quickly just touch on those, shall we? Because we are halfway through the season. Every point is going to matter here. And let's touch on those before we go into the race session in a few moments' time. So once again, Patrick Hanko leading the championship as of the last round at Red Bull Ring with 74 points, a win and then a second place for the driver of that particular car. Francesco in the Arn Sebra car, second place in the points, 55 on the board for the time being, heading into Silverstone, and then sister car Valero Ferraris in third place, 50 points, just very shy of that second place. João Ventus for Toyota Going Sport is fourth with 40 points on the board, and then Luca Martino, so having a DNF at the Red Bull Ring, comes home in P5. Vladislav Zenkov is P6 after a victory in the opening round at Autopolis, and then Peter Zubek for Robley Racing, the sister car, in P7, 35 points. Antunis in the Scuderia Kappa Racing car, 8th place, 35 points once again. So those top three positions, 6th to 8th, all tied in the standings. Gerald Batalla for Robley Racing, 32 points on the board in P9, and then rounding out those top 10 is Rigo for Advanced Competition with 14 points. Toyota Going Sport with Victor Gabello in 11th with 14 points once again. Christoforos Karoulis with Scuderia Kappa Racing, P12 with 11 points. There's quite a few names that I haven't seen in some time here, which is unfortunate. It's a great series. I'm sure they'll be happy to rejoin at a later stage. But we are now just a minute and a half away from our first race. And of course, next round will be the 25th of October. Nürburgring GP. And again, same format as before, one sprint race followed by a feature 30-minute race. So plenty of action still to be had within Europe. 3 rounds to conclude our time here before heading to Sydney and down under those final 3 rounds, concluding the end of the championship. Very quick and compact season. Oh, as one of the cars comes into pit lane and almost hits the sidewall there. That would have been interesting. As we now wait until we go over to the next session. Don't forget, if you are enjoying the action, like and subscribe. It does help the guys get more exposure for these events. And there is the loud announcement from R-Factor 2 to state that we are starting our first race of the evening. 12 laps exactly to be had for our first sprint race. So we're just waiting for the cars to line up on the grid as they make some final adjustments, fuel levels, tyre pressures. And then once they are happy, they will begin to grid. And then we'll be having our first warm-up lap. And that will be an important phase of this event because that will be crucial to the start. Warm up those tyres, get them up into operating temperature as best as possible before the green flag drops. And then they are released for the next 12 laps, where we'll have our first standing start. It's always interesting to see who's going to get off the line the quickest. And then João Fentus will take pole position for the start of this race. Once again, the qualifying results reversed for the top 12. So Toyota Going Sport will be leading in the 13 car ahead of Alex Maloney and Victor Cabello. Vadim Steblin as well, rounding up those top 2 rows for you. Our pole sitter Patrick Hanko all the way down in 12th. And that'll be interesting to see how they're going to fight their way through the grid to the front once more. So the grid now starting to find their way around the circuit. Again, nice wide open piece of circuit. Quite João Fentus uses a bit of the grass as well for good measure as he tries to put some temperature into the tyres. Of course, brakes just as important as the tyres as well. Got to get some temperature into those as we come through Megs and Beckett's. That's going to be very demanding, especially at the likes of Club, Vale, etc. on that opening lap. That could be a good overtaking opportunity for those that have had the brains to warm up all of the components of the car. And plenty of slipstreaming will be had through these parts of the circuit. I believe we may have just lost one of the cars. In fact, yeah, Alex Maloney dropping all the way back down the order. I think he may have had a connection problem there as he now finds himself at the back of the order. Not too sure what has happened for that particular car, but something definitely not right. As we line up for the first time here at Silverstone Grand Prix. Oh, someone's actually spun in the back of the order there. Trying to get a bit too much temperature into the tyres, it seems, as we wait for the green flag to be dropped. Marshall there standing by across the start finishing line. The lights will soon be on. And now starting for the race. The countdown begins. Revs rise and we are off racing. Here comes João Fentus now. He leads the pack towards the first corner. He's got a nice good start. In the background there, Drellin Rigo also on the attack early on. We are 2 wide, 3 wide into the first corner. One of the cars go wide. That may be Valerio Ferraris in the background there as they all fight for track space. Coming down into Club, and there's contact made. Valerio Ferraris and also potentially Patrick Hanko. Yes, it is. Peter Zubek also involved as he tries to rotate his car back into the right direction as we all now accelerate on to the Wellington Straight side by side, and further grass being flown up into the air as they all fight for the grey stuff. And too wide there in the background. This is Zenkov and Francesco in the 15. They are side by side coming into Brooklands, and side by side even still now looking for the undercut is Zenkov as they come now onto the old start finish straight. Slipstream in effect as he tries to close the gap coming into Copse. Looking down the inside is Zenkov, thinks better of it, almost had a Hamilton Verstappen moment there as they all fight for the apex of that corner. And now we have Patrick Hanko going to put pressure on Vladislav Zenkov in return. In the slipstream is Hanko as he tries to close the gap coming towards Stowe. The green flag's now flashing. Nice clear track for the opening lap, besides Peter Zubek's contact early on. Patrick Hanko having a tiny look down the inside into Club. Looks like we may have a bit of problem here for Rigo. He's under a lot of pressure now. Victor Cabello and also Francesco close behind. He is holding on to that third place position. The cars behind doing battle with one another. There's a bit of wheel banging between them, all on both different compounds as well. Francesco gets the jump on Victor Cabello for P4 and moves up by 1. Here comes Francesco though, back on the attack. He wants that position once more. Victor Cabello around the outside. And cutting back down low for the slipstream. It could be a counter-attack coming in towards Copse. He moves onto the outside line, does Cabello, as the 2-2 battle continuing to allow Rigo to get into the distance there. The gap between these two, only 1.6 seconds. Into Maggots and Beckett's now. There's a slight gap that existed there. Cabello gets it really wrong as he finds himself on the grass. That's going to put him in a lot of danger coming out of Chapel. Here comes Patrick Hanko. Royal Blue Racing on the attack now. He's found an opportunity. There's nothing that Cabello can do to counter-attack that and defend the position. There's too much track space to cover with that small Formula 3 car. He will be side by side with Patrick Hanko though, coming into Stowe. Somehow keeping the position for the time being. Patrick Hanko has a tiny look down the inside. Gets his nose chopped off there by Cabello. Nice defending there from the Toyota Going Sport driver as we now start the third lap. Fentis setting the fastest lap of the race at the moment, and he's in the lead for the time being. So from the pole position, he is extending that advantage at the current pace. Too wide here. We have Rigo and Vadim Steblin fighting over second place. Looks like Steblin lost out on that particular position. Oh, there's a big mistake there. He actually seizes both right-hand tyres. Francesco was close behind and gets a nice wallop as well for good measure. He's losing out a lot of positions now, back down into P5. Patrick Hanko doesn't get an opportunity to overtake himself and has to settle back in behind for P6 for the time being. Zubek is making a great recovery drive in the background of your screens there, up into P8 after that earlier mistake. Steblin continuing to have problems now as he goes wide on the exit of Copse Corner. Both coming down through into Maggots and Beckett's, it seems. Both cars accelerating out of the corner onto the long straight. Too wide in the background there. Could potentially be 3 in a short moment's time. Oh, big mistake there from Victor Cabello. He's getting it all wrong on the exit. And somehow, I don't know how, but Steblin is holding on to that 6th place for the time being. Great fighting between these top positions though, from 4th all the way through to 8th. Not much time between them whatsoever as they all vie for track position. Nice battle going on just in the background there between Vladislav Zenkov and Luca Martino. Onto the Wellington Straight. They're going to surely look down onto the inside line. Defended very nicely by Zenkov as they now are 2 wide coming into the braking zone. It looks like Martino's going the long way around. He's going for the outside line. That's going to put him in a great position through Luffield, which it does. Looking for the switchback is Zenkov. He will get down to the power, but not quickly enough as Martino closes the deal and seals 8th place for now. Copse corner, and Zenkov is under further pressure from Ferraris. The armed Zebra cars now really starting to hammer down and apply some pressure as we come into Magnussen Beckett. This is a great move here from Ferraris. He's trying to try it around the outside. Oh, there's contact between Ferraris and Lepping. So that is 2 of the cars, the 98 and the 35, onto the gravel trap here at Magnussen Beckett. It all went wrong. They all tried to slow down for the same piece of road, and Ferraris getting a really big thud on the back of that rear wing of his. And that was all it took to unsettle the car and send it off into the gravel. He's got all that work to do once again now. And back into the fight for the lead as Rigo and Advanced Competition are starting to close in on race leader. In fact, new fastest laps coming in all over the place. Patrick Hanko now setting the fastest lap of this race, a 1:45.150, and only at 1.5 seconds through from 1st to 4th. Incredible stuff now starting to occur as we almost reach the halfway point of this first sprint race. Here comes Francesco in the 15 for the RF2 Racing. He looked down the inside there for 2nd place, not able to close the gap sufficiently though. Rigo having a big slide on the exit of Luffield. This could be the opportunity that Armed Zebra are waiting for. The 2 now closing very quickly indeed as we approach Copse. Francesco down on the inside into Copse. He looks and plants that Formula 3 nose on the inside line. There's a slight overlap available, but Rigo just carries the speed through the apex to maintain that 2nd place into Magnussen Beckett now. It's a great 3-way fight for 2nd place starting to occur here. Patrick Hanko gets it a bit wrong, as does Rigo on the exit of Chapel. This is going to be the opportunity now. The power being planted down by Francesco, and he's got a long side. In fact, he's starting to overlap quite significantly. Is he going to be able to clear Rigo into Stowe? He is. So 2nd place there for Francesco and RC Racing. Royal Blue Racing and Patrick Hanko now close behind and ready to move in for the kill as well. Now officially at the halfway point of this race, ladies and gents, coming across the start finishing line. Into the first corner they go. Patrick Hanko currently sitting in 4th, who we're on board with at the moment. Now Francesco is actually getting away quite nicely in 2nd place here in the 15 car. He seems to be closing down on our race leader, which he is. Now what will Joan Fentis have in response to defend this? And looks like we may have a 2 fight starting to occur at the same time as Rigo tries to hold off Hanko in the number 10. Round the outside goes Hanko. He's trying to look for that extra space coming through Copse corner. They are side by side as we speak. Rigo defending that inside line and using all of the track available to maintain that final podium position. There is fighting going on everywhere, ladies and gents. We have a 2-wide battle going on for P8 and 9. Of course, we'll stay with these podium positions though. Rigo now defenceless to protect against the attack coming from Patrick Hanko. He is alongside and ahead coming in towards Stowe. This is going to be a podium position here for Royal Blue Racing in their hands, and he is able to close the deal without any retaliation from Rigo. Nothing he could have done there as the slipstream did its work. Now Patrick Hankel will have a job to do to close in on Francesco and Jaume Ventus, who is our current leader for the time being. Let's go back down the order ever so slightly as the battles continue to rage on here. Vladislav Zenkov, Vadim Steblin, you've got Luca Martino and Victor Cabello, all within a few tenths of one another as we enter lap 7 of 12. And this battle is closing down further and further here. Victor Cabello, Luca Martino fighting over 6th place. We are keeping an eye on our leaders as well, so don't worry about that. Coming into Magnussen Beckis once more. Luca Martino closing that gap slightly, and let's jump to our leaders at the moment because this is really close now between these three. Ventus leads the way, then it's Francesco who sends it down the inside into Stowe. He's got the position, he's got the lead for the time being. The comeback from Ventus is now underway. He goes down low onto the entry to club to defend the lead of the race. Puffs of smoke coming from Francesco. He goes round the outside, does Ventus. He's fighting back for the lead. Here comes Patrick Hanko as well. He's in the mix. Francesco takes the lead back once again on the outside into club. Across onto the start Hamilton straight. That is incredible overtaking there from our current leader from Toyota Cone Sport. Into the next lap, Francesco around the outside. Looks for the slight overlap into the first corner. And even still now, side by side, coming into Village. They go. Ventus defending brilliantly here. Francesco down at the inside into the second part of Village. He goes through the loop, powering down towards Aintree and the Wellington Straight. Patrick Hanko has got a great drive out onto the Wellington Straight. He is side by side and charging into second place. It looks like he'll have to settle back into the slipstream though. He looks in down the inside this time though. Wellington Straight's concluded and down in towards Brooklands he goes. They are side by side. More tyre banging between the two of them. They are making contact. Rigo now back in the mix for advanced competition as well. This is great racing for the lead of the race. Just in the background you have Peter Zubek as well. So this is soon becoming a five-way fight as Patrick Hanko looks down the inside into Kops, not able to make that work. Very difficult position to overtake from. Kops is just a big no-no in my books. Very risky indeed. But all is well for the time being. Great respect and great racing room from these guys. Now Ventus did have a small break there in the 13 lead car, but now under pressure once again from Francesco. Here comes the 15 round the outside of Stowe. Big move and able to get it done very nicely. As I'm not sure what's happened to Schweimer in the second place 13. He just seems to have lost pace coming down that hanger straight, it seemed. Peter Zubek overtaking Rigo for P5, or sorry, P4 up for grabs, as the Royal Blue Racing cars now find themselves back to back in the standings. And Patrick Hanko still holds the fastest lap of the race, a 1:45.150, so he will get the extra point in the championship standings for that if he can maintain it till the end of the race. Now small breathing room for all involved. Rigo now under attack from Luca Martino for 5th place. There's going to be some solid points here. This is a great race for Rigo and advanced competition. It's going to be a solid points haul if he can bring this one to the line. And once again on the old start finish straight towards Cobbs, and down the inside is Martino. Not able to make it work. Rigo touches the curbing and that sends his car wildly onto the grass. Nicely held, sir. Nicely held. He actually managed to save it from going into the barrier. That, I thought that was a goner, but very nice driving there from Rigo in the number 12. Nice save. back to the lead. Francesco extending over João Fentis in second. Hanko closing in for the kill and that second place podium position. We are entering lap 10 very shortly as we come towards club once more. And then you have the teammate Peter Zubek close behind Hanko for Royal Blue Racing. He is soon to be in on the action as well. And we've had one retirement for this particular race, and that is the 99. Big mistake there from Drama coming into the loop. Not able to get the power down, just lost the rear end completely, puffs of smoke, and that has allowed Patrick Hanko surely into position. He goes defensive on the entry into Brooklands. And opening the door there for Peter Zubek as well. He was alongside, fighting for third place. Ramafentis losing 2 positions in 2 corners. Now coming through the apex of Cobbs, Ramafentis going very wide indeed. Peter Zubek sliding on through. And he needs to make sure that he gets a very good drive out of Chapel. Luca Martino closing in very quickly, in fact. Faster laps from the last time by, 146s. And onto the hangar straight we go. And these 3 are very close indeed, it seems. There's a 1 second gap to our current leader. Patrick Hanko is starting to give chase. We'll keep a close eye on that as it unfolds. Looks like maybe Drama is starting to struggle on this particular compound tyre. And Luca Martino starting to close in for the kill and take this 4th place away. He is the faster car, it seems, for the time being. Fighting going on further down the order. Victor Cabello and Vladislav Zenkov fighting over 7th place. Valerio Ferrari is in the background, also in on the mix. All slipstreaming, going down low to defend as we enter Wellington. And it's going to be 3 wide, it seems, on the entry. Who's going to back out? It appears to be Valerio Ferraris. He thinks better of that situation. Doesn't want to have it turn into a mess. Wise decision, if you ask me. Oh, nearly onto the gravel there for Victor Cabello. Nicely drived, just finding every inch of the track. And through Copse Corner we go. A slight misjudgment of entry speed there from Cabello as he goes off into the tarmac. And another slight slide there for Cabello, so maybe struggling with the tyres as we come on to what will be the final lap of this race. And we have a fight for the lead, ladies and gents. Patrick Hanko has closed that gap down to half a second, it seems, as we begin the penultimate lap. Hanko just set the fastest lap of the race, 1:45.047, the time to beat, and Francesco is starting to struggle, it seems, as that gap has closed right down. Oh, bit of a slide there in Village. That's not going to help matters as the tyres will overheat very quickly in these cars. Onto the Wellington Straight. This is going to be Patrick's best chance of overtaking as we come towards the heavy braking zone of Brooklands. Looking down the inside, slight peep, not close enough as of yet. He's waiting for that opportunity. He needs to make sure that he is close enough coming through Maggots and Beckett's to make this work and claim victory here. Of course, we know Patrick Hanko, fastest man on the grid for the moment, leading the championship and also fastest man in qualifying. So he certainly knows he's got the pace to do this as we come into Copse for the final time. Through the apex they both go. Nicely done by Francesco to maximise their exit speed. Coming into Maggots and Beckett's, he has actually extended that advantage. This is going to be vital for victory here. Don't mess up that corner, because it is vital. Coming through Beckett's, through Chapel, onto the power we go. This is going to be Hanko's only opportunity to close this down. 3 points, 3 kilometers an hour, and he's got too big of a gap. He's not going to be able to close this down in time. Through Stowe they go, navigating the final few corners here for RF2 Racing. This is going to be a great take home for Francesco in the 15. Coming through those final few corners, coming into the last corner of this race. Francesco and RF2 Racing win at Silverstone GP for the first sprint race of the evening. Patrick Hanko charging from all the way from 12th up into second place. Peter Zubek in the sister car will be good enough for third. What a great take home of points for Royal Blue Racing. But Francesco did everything necessary to hold off that charge. He knew that Patrick was setting the fastest laps of the race and was just able to hold them off. That is fantastic racing from all involved. So let's go through the race results with you, ladies and gents, as they come through. And as already mentioned, it is Francesco in the RF2 car coming home victorious after 12 laps of racing. To the best efforts of Patrick Hanko, was able to hold him off to secure that victory for him. Patrick Hanko just a few tenths off and securing second place. Peter Zubek, his teammate, just a few seconds more shy of winning here this evening. Peter Zubek settles for third. Drama Fentas had a great race. Toyota Gome Sport coming home in P4. Some great action there. And then Luca Martino, the second of the RF2 Racing cars, coming home in P5. Rigo was able to hold on to P6. Having started up the order, of course, he was around 11th, he started P8 in qualifying, reverse grid, so he's made up quite some nice ground and coming home with some decent points there. Vladislav Zenkov coming home P7 for Zenkov Racing, and then Valerio Ferraris for the final of the RF2 Racing cars. Victor Cabello for Toyota Gome Sport in P9, and then Christian with Racing Matters Most coming home in 10th. Moving on to our second sheet, just only 2 cars. Vadim Steblin came home in last place, and then Christian sadly retiring with a DNF, our only retiree for this particular race. And the drivers, it seems, having a bit of fun as they come into pit lane, just deciding to smash into the barrier. And we will wait to go into the next race of this evening. And that will be a much longer race, 30 minutes to be exact, with much more points available, of course. So this will be now introducing the original qualifying results. So Patrick Hanko will start on pole position. We'll run through that order when we go into the next warm-up session for you, and we can see who is going to be starting where. So to those that aren't sure how the series works, so the rounds are split into sprint races, the first being 10 to 0 points being awarded. So for Francesco there will secure his 10 points for victory, but of course this is the race that matters most, as they get 25 points, similar to Formula 1, and then deducted by 2 points successively on towards until we reach 0. So although they will be happy with these points for this first opening round here at Silverstone GP, what they are all really after is victory in the feature race. And of course, fastest lap points are awarded, so Patrick Hanko will still come home with a solid points haul, coming home in second place. He did have the fastest lap of the race, 1:45, the time to beat. Now, only time will tell if anyone else will be able to match that in the next race, but we will soon find out. And let's quickly run through the starting order for the second race of this evening. So as already mentioned, Patrick Hanko will start on pole position. Luca Martino will be alongside for the start. Peter Zubek in the sister car P3, and then Francesco, our current winner for the sprint race, will be on the second row in P4. Valerio Ferraris will be 5th, followed by Vladislav Senkov in 6th. Christian for Racing Matters Most at P7, and then Rigo will start P8 for advanced competition. Vadim Steblin in 9th, and then rounding out the top 10 will be Victor Cabello, Alex Maloney in 11th, and then Joao Mafentis in P12. P13 will go to Christian for the sister car for Racing Matters Most in the 99, and that will round out your 13 cars for this evening. Now, before we go into that, we've still got 3 minutes left in the warm-up session before we go over to the next session. If you are interested in looking into these events, feel free to look down in the description below. You'll find all of the links to ASRC for the World Series. They've also got the Formula 1 1993 series currently running. That looks like a lot of fun. We covered that event last week when they went to Interlagos, so that looks like a lot of fun. If you are interested in joining in your open wheel racing, get in touch with these guys. All the links in the description below. And of course, we are reaching the halfway point of the season currently. Silverstone GP currently underway. Last week was Red Bull Ring. We had some great racing there. If you haven't seen it already, go back onto our channel and view that. There was great overtaking from start to finish in both races ahead of this particular round. And then Nürburgring GP up next before going to Sydney and beyond. Of course, if you are interested and if you are enjoying the racing, we do appreciate if you give us a thumbs up and also subscribe if you are interested in the action. Plenty of races upcoming, which we'll be covering for the rest of the series for them, hopefully. And it's going to be nice dry weather from start to finish in the second half of this evening's event. Just bring up the results one last time for you. If you're just tuning in or looking to catch up, Session 1 races results for you. There are 12 laps worth of frantic action between all involved. Francesco taking victory in the 15 for Armslieber as he held off both the Royal Blue Racing cars and Patrick Hanko's last minute charge. Great to see. And then Joao Mafentis, of course, I didn't realise that he started on pole position, having qualified 12th. He actually came home with 4th place. So that is a mighty result there for Toyota Gomesport. Must be very happy with that indeed. Luca Martino making his way up into 5th. So very strong results all round. Rigo holding on to P6, so making a gain of a few positions from qualifying. And then Vladislav Senkov and Valerio Ferraris in 7th and 8th. Rest of the results on screen for you as we filter through and enter the final minute of our warm-up session. We've had a few new joiners as well. We've got Nick Stefanenko joining, and also someone else who I can't seem to find has joined as well. So 2 new drivers joining for the second race here, looking for some last-minute points it seems. Let us know what favourite part of the event has been streamed at the moment. So if you have a favourite driver or a favourite part of the race, feel free to share that with us. Of course, we'll try and get your name through, or maybe who have you got as your favourite driver. Predictions for this particular race. Is it going to be Patrick Hanko, the fastest man on the grid, that's going to take victory here today? Or is the many slipstream opportunities available here going to render his victory under threat from the likes of Francesco and Luca Martino in the Armslieber car? Or maybe we'll have another battle between the 2 Royal Blue Racing cars like we had at Red Bull Ring. Anything can happen here, so it's all up for grabs it seems. And we wait for the countdown to conclude and move over to the second race for this evening. Some of the cars currently out on track, setting some last minute laps, just trying to tune in any last minute changes, maybe just rectify a few issues that they've seen during their first race, and maybe perfect those lines to gain that extra 10th in the feature race. And coming into the first corner now. I'm currently following Christian Alaro Lepping as he finds his way around the circuit. Nice attack of the curbing there. So we're just waiting for the server to go over to the race session, then we'll get back up to speed, show you the starting order once again as we get the cars lined up. And then we'll get the second race for the evening underway as the session changes now. It's always a good sign when a car starts to slide like that because that means we're going over to the next session in the world of R Factor 2. So Patrick Hanko will lead the second race for the evening as the cars immediately start to line up onto the grid. And the 99 occupying the grid on their own for the time being. Some last minute changes being made inside the garages, it seems. Maybe looking for one of the drivers to rejoin potentially. And let's quickly run through the starting order as we get the grid starting to come on in numbers now. So in front of you is the lineup for the second race of this evening. And Patrick Hanko leading the way for Royal Blue Racing, setting the fastest lap. Very quick time, but Luca Martino second place and Peter Zubek on the second row behind. He also has Francesco for the Armstebro car alongside for the start, and then Valerio Ferraris in P5, Zenkov in 6th, Lepping in the Racing Matters Most P7, and then Rigo for Advanced Competition in 8th, Vadim Steblin for 9th place, and then Victor Cabello rounding out those top 10 positions. Alex Maloney in 11th, and then Joao Ventus for Toyota Gonsport P12, and then we have Christian in the Racing Matters Most car in the 99, rounding out the back of the grid for you. 13 cars ready to go racing, with 17 laps to be completed. And to start this race will be very important for Patrick Hanko. Luca Martino was very quick in that qualifying session, only shy by 0.6 seconds. So very close times coming across the start finish. And that slipstream will give Luca that extra few kilometres an hour needed to take the lead of this race potentially. So opening laps will be important here. And of course, looking after the tyres, you can have a pit stop, but it will be detrimental to your race results. So looking after the tyres will be crucial here. Peter Zubek is in P3. So be looking to overtake Luca early on to support his teammate. And they can just both charge away and help one another to escape the rest of the pack. And then, of course, Francesco close behind for Armstebro as well. So it could go any way. Both teams have got some of their fastest drivers up the front at the moment. So it'll be all about how the start of the race unfolds and how they can work together to put each other on the back foot. So Patrick Hanko, our race leader, lining up on the start-finish line for the second race here at Silverstone Grand Prix. The rest of the grid will be lining up behind as they do so, warming up those tyres one final time before coming to a stop, and we have our second standing start. We wait for the countdown to begin from race control, and Marshall standing ready once more to drop that green flag and get the race underway. Countdown begins, res rising, the Formula 3 cars are ready to get going. And we're off. Patrick Hanko off to a decent start, as is Luca Martina, but Peter Zubek is also on for a flyer as well. Francesco are too wide coming into turn one. You have three cars going into contact with one another, and it looks like Peter Zubek is through, which he is. Rob Blue Racing are 1-2 for the time being. He goes down low onto the inside line coming into Village, and both Arm Zebra cars are struggling to get up to pace. You've got one of the cars completely turned around. It's one of the advanced competition cars. Rigo going sideways as well. Zenkov also collected on the outside line, so a bit chaotic on the start here for the second round. Rigo going very wide onto the off track as we enter the Wellington Straight. Well, someone else also doing the same as we get up to speed. Zubek now defending his teammate from Martino, then Francesco. So they've both lost. Martino has lost one position, but the top three positions unchanged beside that overtake from Zubek. Coming out down towards Copse Corner now. Valerio Ferrari's in the background there, rounding out the back end of the Arn Zebra cars. Then we have Victor Cabello and João Fentas. They both making up some solid ground on the opening part of this race. Big send there from Cabello as he tries to overtake Ferraris in the 35. Coming into Maggots and Beckett's very risky move there. Retirement there from the 99. So 12 running cars left for this evening. Nice train of cars all zooming their way onto the hangar straight now. Braking heavily into Stowe. Capello having a bit of trouble warming up those tyres as he goes a bit wide on the exit there. And pretty much 0.5 seconds between everyone involved here. João Fentas closing in on his teammate. Both Toyota Gome Sport cars. And 0.3 seconds between them. So will they start to fight one another? That is the question. But Cabello has the advantage for now, holding on to that 6th place position. It all runs very wide and allows his teammate through without a fight. So getting the exit onto Wellington completely wrong. So the loop is a very tricky corner, to be honest. It's a village complex. Very risky indeed. And of course, no traction control, no ABS on these Formula 3 cars. And it's just a small mistake is required to seize and cause a bit of an issue, especially on the lower speed corners. Now under threat from Zenkov in the number 5 as he starts to close in on 7th place. Victor Cabello just shy of 0.4 seconds advantage over that position. He's running wide at Copse now, so further issues here for Cabello, trying to hold on to these positions, coming through Maggots and Beckett's. On board with Zenkov as he tries to make his way through the corner, bit unsettled through Chapel and onto the grass. Something's really wrong with Cabello's car here, it seems, as he's struggling even further, but under pressure from Rigo now is Zenkov. Here comes the attack round the outside into Stowe. Rigo's starting to push a bit too deep into the corner, not alongside enough to get that move to stick. And has to settle for 9th place once more. A new best lap time from Patrick Hanko. Royal Blue Racing are extending their lead over the Zebra Racing team. And still 0.2 seconds between Advanced Competition and Zenkov Racing. Coming into Village once more as we start our 3rd lap. These are going to fly past. Very quick racing indeed, and fast lap times from these Formula 3 cars. And on board with Rigo as he comes through the loop and onto the Wellington Straight. These three cars starting to close in together now. Looks like Rigo got a bad exit through Luffield, but just up the road, Zenkov is closing in on Cabello. It's going to be a fight here now for 7th place. He's going to have a look down the inside into Copse. He does. He's alongside already. They touch slightly. And always a big off there for Cabello. And one of the arms cars also missing a front and rear wing. So there's been a big incident somewhere along the lines. We'll have to rejoin as this battle continues. Zenkov down on the inside into Magus and Beckett. He's got the move done nicely. Down onto the inside line, just able to claim that apex away from Cabello and into position. The fighting continues. Rigo wants a piece of the action as well. They're almost 3 wide coming into the braking zone at Stowe. Cabello goes all the way around the long way for Toyota Going Sport. He's going to take the position back. He is. Cabello, nice move here from the 23. Zenkov switching back around, trying to get the braking done in towards Club. They're going to make slight contact. No, they don't. Just barely misses the back end of Cabello's car. And still slight overlap here coming into the final corner. Great racing from all involved. It's a 4-way fight now. Rigo tries to find his way back onto the grey stuff. As they come into the first corner, it continues. Rigo now alongside with Steblin, fighting for his position to retain 8th place, which he does. I can't seem to find any opportunity to actually breathe here, as their fighting is just continuous. Coming back onto the Wellington Straight once more, this time Steblin applying pressure to Rigo for 8th place. Slight overlap here as they come into the braking zone. At Brooklands, backs out of it though, not close enough this time by. Zenkov has a small moment into the braking zone, finds himself in an awkward position. Rigo now right on the rear bumper as they come onto the old start-finish straight. Copse corner coming up quickly. Rigo looks to go low, but is immediately cut off by Zenkov. He's going to try and squeeze him onto the apex. Rigo going the long way round. This is a great move here for advanced competition if he can make it work. Coming towards Megas and Beckers, he's going to have a slight inside line. Yes, he is. Rigo takes the position. They're still side by side coming into the next few apexes. This is great stuff. Rigo takes 7th place, or 8th, yeah, 7th place from Zenkov there. All the way around the outside at Copse corner. That is a spectacular move. Rarely seen that happen before. And now coming on the attack once again. Down the hanger straight goes Zenkov. Switch back here from Rigo. Takes the position once more away. Zenkov struggling to keep these positions, it seems, as they continue to fight. This is great racing from all involved. Now he'll find himself under a bit of pressure from Christian Alari Lepping for 9th place. Vadim Steblin currently occupies the spot as they come across the start finishing line. Oh, sparks flying off the back there as he touches the curbing through the apex of the first corner. Oh, we've had another retirement. That is Francesco. You remember the arms car going through Magus and Beckett's with no front wing or no rear wing there. That was the 15, so a victory in the sprint race, but a retirement for the feature race. That's going to be a big blow to the championship standings there for the 15. As we're now on board with Christian Alari Lepping. He's trying to find a bit more time to catch up to the 32, which is held by Steblin. And running a bit wide through Copse. That's not going to help matters by any margin, as we're now following Zenkov through the same portion of the circuit. Zenkov having a big trouble here of maintaining that temperature in the tyre, seizing as they come through Magus and Beckers, it seems. Lots of puffs of smoke coming off the back of the car. Nicely held, prevents it turning into a spin. That's going to chew through that compound. Bit of space starting to emerge between these three now. Rigo is the next man in the order for this fight for 6th place. Cabello just 0.8 seconds ahead as we start lap 6 of this 27 lap race here at Silverstone Grand Prix. It looks like Royal Blue Racing are starting to find their feet. at this stage of the race. They're pulling away from both the Arns Seba Racing cars for the time being. It's 4.8 seconds to our leader. Let's quickly switch back to this battle. Apologise for that, as they are getting closer and closer together, it seems. Only 0.3 seconds now between them as we come through Luffield. Now Rigo will have to wait until they enter the hangar straight before he can close that gap down, and it's a bad entry through Copse. You could just see the car understeering just where he is sitting in the dirty air for so long. That will affect the performance of those front tyres. It's a big mistake here from Cabello. He gets the exit of Beckett completely wrong. This is going to be a good chance for Rigo to close in that gap, which he is already. 0.4 seconds, 0.3 seconds. It's not going to be quick enough though. He's going to run out of track before we hit the brakes once more, coming into Stowe. But this time he is much closer to the back end for 6th place here. Cabello doing everything he can to hold on to this position. Now it's turned into a three-way fight. Zenkov is now in the fight as well. 0.4 seconds shy of Rigo. So he is right in the centre of this three-way race for 6th. Oh, big issue there for Zenkov, finding a bit too much pace, it seems, coming into Abbey, which is the first corner here. Just carried way too much speed and found himself on the AstroTurf. Nice exit here from Rigo onto the Wellington Straight. This is going to be an opportunity. Nice defensive move from Cabello as he tries to fend off the attack. He will have the inside line. There's slight contact between the two of them. No damage caused, but Rigo now going for the outside line through Luffield. He's trying to squeeze as much track as possible away from Cabello to prevent him from getting the power down, but he has to settle back into position, and now Zenkov is right there in the mix as well. He's closing down all three cars, getting closer and closer. Zenkov looking to the inside. He will have a slight overlap coming into Cop's corner. They both come through the corner in peace. Oh, there's a bit of a tap between Zenkov and Rigo, and that sends Zenkov completely 360 rotating around. No damage caused, but it was enough to unsettle the car and send it off into the grass. There's a nice pirouette there, so nicely controlled, able to carry on without any further issues there for Zenkov. He continues to fight Cabello for 6th place. Now starting lap 8 of 17, sorry. So we're quickly coming to the halfway point of this race. And this is the closest battle that we have on grid at the moment, as you can see from the gaps existing between all the other drivers. Patrick Hanko still has the fastest lap of the race, as we have a big send from Rigo down into Brooklands here. The gap seems to be maintaining itself at 0.3 seconds between these two. There's some great racing between both of them as they vie for those all-important championship points. That would be a great result for Rigo. He has had one retirement last round at Red Bull Ring and no points scored in the feature race at Autopolis. So not had the greatest of experience at Okayama either. So if he can come home in 7th place this evening, he will be taking home some nice points for the team. They are side by side coming into the final corner. It looks like a mistake there from Cabello coming onto the exit of club corner. That's all it took, and Rigo swooped down to take that position away. Nicely done. Further troubles for Cabello. He's using the off circuit or the runoff area coming into Abbey. And the next car there for Rigo to catch up to will be the teammate for Toyota Simsports, João Fentis, in the 13. That'll be 5th place up for grabs. He needs to find an extra 2.3 seconds if he's to do battle. And we also have another fighter starting to join in. That is Christian Alari Lepping catching up to this fight for P6. Rigo only now 1.5 seconds behind João in P5. So some battles starting to emerge once more here. Looks like João is struggling this particular lap, maybe overheating the tyres last time by, because they are very sensitive to overheating here in the Formula 3 category. And he's actually closing in very quickly indeed. 0.6 seconds already from 2.5 seconds. That is a mega lap here from Rigo in the number 12 for advanced competition. So he's closing right down onto João Fentis and the 13 car. So this could be a great battle to start to emerge here in a few moments' time. Cabello starting to go wide there on the exit of Stowe. It really is happening here all at once, isn't it? It's Rigo's on a right charge for the second phase of this race. Coming onto the start-finish straight, João goes wide onto the exit of the final corner. This is going to be opportunity here for Rigo as he comes onto the Wellington straight. Surely into Abbey they go. Not side by side, but slight overlap existing between the two of them. He's going to go for the overtake onto Village. He's going around the outside. Looking for the undercut is Rigo. And finding that track space. Oh, a bit of a love tap onto that rear tyre from João Fentis there, and onto the Wellington straight. He's actually sacrificed quite a bit of time in doing so. He wanted to get on the power early, just wasn't anywhere to accelerate into. No free track space as the 13 occupied where he wanted to go. So he now has to wait until a further opportunity presents itself into Luffield and Brooklands. Magnussen Beck is up next. Gap has extended ever so slightly to 0.7 seconds. That could be where he used all of the tyre life coming through Village. There was a lot of scruffing off those fronts, and of course he will be suffering from understeer, being in the dirty air from the 13 ahead. Let's see how it holds up as he comes down the hanger straight. Close the gap by 0.3 seconds. Did Rigo. But is it enough to close the deal? Oh, he's right on the tail now. Literally 0.2 seconds between these two drivers. Coming towards Abbey once again. It seems that the advanced competition car is struggling through the first corner, where that understeer just hurts so much. Of course, being in the dirty air, the front tyres just don't have any grip. The front wing doing very little in comparison to what it would do when in open air. So that's what's costing him here. Already back up to 0.6 seconds, and that's where that difference is. You can already tell that that's where he's losing all of the time, is through these high-speed corners. Through Brooklands and Luffield, much slower, so he's able to close the gap ever so slightly. 0.4 seconds now, coming on to the old start-finish straight. He just needs to find that extra tenth or two. That's all it will need to overtake and take 5th place away from Toyota Simsports. And that'll be both cars demoted by 1 position. if he's able to make that work. Down the hanger straight we are going once again. Look down the inside there from Rigo as he thinks about sending it down the inside into Stowe, but not close enough. That would have been a disaster. Waiting for another opportunity, it seems. It looks like his teammate is starting to find some pace as well, as we've had 3 retirements now in this particular race. Vadim, Steblin, Francesco and Christian all retiring at the bottom of your list there. That means we have 10 runners still remaining. And Rigo he's actually much closer this time by coming across the start finishing line. Into Village we go. He's sending it down the inside into the second corner. He's made it work. He's got the overtake done, but here comes the counter offensive from João Fentus. He sends it sideways into the loop. And still side by side, even now, coming onto the Wellington straight, drifting their way onto the back markers and on the way down into Brooklyn as they go. And touching once again. Rigo trying to defend the outside as best he can. He's onto the grass, and that was as a result of that minor contact between the two of them. He just didn't have any time to slow down and get the car turned in. So, not too sure if they'll be looked into or not, but he retakes the position, does Rama, and now Rigo finds him in a very awkward position, fighting his teammate Cabello in the 23. In the background as well, you have Zenkov in 8th place. He is just shy of 1 second of getting involved in this particular fight as well. Here comes Ramo once again. Rigo switching left and right, trying to find the best door available. And he's going to open it as best as he can as he comes in towards Stowe. He's going around the outside line once again. He wants to be on the inside line for Club, which he is. They are alongside, wheel to wheel now as both cars dive into the braking zone. Club corner up next, and he's got the inside line, does Rigo. He's up into position once again. P5 in the hands of Advanced Competition. Tried to go and spawn, not able to come back. Both cars coming across the start-finishing line now. And they are looking to find their way back past Rigo. Down onto the inside into Abbey. He goes, snaps the car back into line as it starts to lose grip. And he rejoins after using the runoff area, does Remifentus. He's really trying to regain this position back, isn't he? He's not happy at all that Rigo's taking this position away. He's getting the power down onto the Wellington Straight though. And this will be the best opportunity that Joema has to take this position back. 0.2 seconds and closing down 0.1 second. He's going to go for the overtake surely down the inside. He does. Fighting continues between the two of them. More puffs of smoke coming from the 13. This is going to end in tears, it seems. A very aggressive driving coming from the number 13 car with 5 laps remaining. Rico's doing everything he needs to do right now to hold on to this position though. And John Mafentis running slightly wide on Kopp's corner. That's going to allow his teammate to close in for the kill, should he decide to do so, of course. They are both fighting for the same team. And Zenkov starting to catch up to Cabello for 7th place. So the mid-pack starting to spice up very nicely in the closing stages now. Slight gap starting to emerge between these guys as they come into lap 14 of 17. So 0.5 seconds all around. Vladislav Zenkov making a bit of a mess out of Village as he comes under pressure from Lepping in the 98. Points available for these positions as well, so they will be fighting quite ferociously now as the race comes to its closing stages. Coming down onto the old start finish straight once again. Zenkov just ahead by 0.3 seconds and in the middle of this three-way fight for 7th. And looks like Rigo starting to slowly edge an advantage over Joama in 5th place. So he just needs to continue that for the next few laps in order to maintain that position. He's got the pace to do this. This will be his best result in the season so far for the number 12. Sorry, got my numbers completely mixed up there. And into the braking zone at Stowe, on board with Zenkov at the moment, as he closes in on Cabello once more. They seem to ebb and flow with each other, the tyres responding differently, and these must be very tricky to manoeuvre, especially with the tyre degradation here at Silverstone. And 0.8 seconds coming across the start finishing line. Look at this nice train of cars we've got here in the final few closing laps. Starting lap 15 of 17 now. Leading the pack, the number 12, Rigo, doing very well to hold off the 13. Toyota Sport have both their cars in good chase, but not able to find the time. Last lap times coming across the start finish were 1:48 for Rigo and for Cabello as well. But Rigo just seems to have that extra 10th or 2 advantage over the two Gun Sport drivers at the moment. And coming towards Copse, using that rumble strip on the left hand side before snatching the car back in the opposite direction towards the apex. And this time Joama is closing in. He's got a nice run out of Chapel onto the hangar straight. The gap 0.4 seconds coming down the coming down this long straight towards Stowe. So this could be the opportunity that he's been looking for. With one lap, we now enter the penultimate lap. So 2 laps remaining, ladies and gents, before the checker flag is flown once more. And that'll be the final points awarded for the Silverstone Grand Prix and this Formula 3 World Series. Oh, nice save there from Joama. Ventus, the car snatching ever so slightly to the right, but nicely held indeed. Able to stop that from turning into a spin, but it has cost him a bit of time. As we come onto the Wellington Straight, he's still 0.7 seconds behind. He's really pushing this car to its limits, that's for sure. Just seems to be a bit too aggressive on the brakes, and that just unsettles the car when he decides to start to turn in. That's what's causing these small snaps of oversteer, it seems. But he's still in this fight. 0.7 seconds coming on to the old start-finish straight. Into Copse once more. It's a nice corner. A bit too much speed though. He gets the entry speed slightly wrong. That chucks him off the race course. But he is slowly closing this gap. Is he going to be able to hold this kind of pace though? He's really starting to push the car. That's going to take its toll on these tyres as well. They're already quite worn at this stage of the race. And it's all gone wrong in Chapel. He's completely missed the apex. And surely that'll be an unfair advantage. He's been able to maintain that gap to the car ahead. He'll have to surely back out of that, because he has actually closed in. He's actually backing off now. He's back to 0.8 seconds. Potentially some grass on those tyres has resettled the balance of the universe, it seems. But back to original starting positions, 0.8 seconds between both cars. Coming on to the final lap of this race. We've got a 3-way car sandwich, all separated by 0.7 seconds between these guys as well. Let's quickly touch on our leaders momentarily. Patrick Hanko is out on a race of his own, it seems, for Royal Blue Racing. He has done everything required. He's setting the fastest lap of the race, which is a 44.366, and also last lap 45 still coming out of this man. So incredible stuff as he comes down into the final sector So he will extend his championship lead now. He leads, of course, with 74 points already, coming into the final few corners. And Royal Blue Racing and Patrick Hanko will take victory once again at Silverstone Grand Prix. That's 25 points to his name to extend that championship. Congratulations to Patrick Hanko as he comes across the line. The sister car will do so in second place, so equally as good for the team. The constructors will enjoy that thoroughly, and Peter Zubek securing second place. Looks like both the ARMS cars did well to secure the remaining podium positions. Luca Martino starting second, coming home in third as he comes across the start-finish line, and then Valerio Ferraris, his sister car, in fourth, just outside those podium positions. We'll go back to Rigo as they are the next competitive cars still racing at the moment as they come up towards Stowe. Into the braking zone at Club. The final few corners to navigate. It looks like he's got the space all the time in the world. Not too sure what happened to Jerome Fentus, but it all went wrong for him. That's the best result there for advanced competition. And Rigo in the number 12, his best haul of points so far this season. He must be happy with that. Coming across the finishing line. Both the Toyota Go Sport cars come across in P6 and 7. So great racing between those two, making contact with one another for good measure at the end there. Well, ladies and gents, that is the end of this evening's race events, and of course was a spectacular action between all involved as Patrick Hanko makes his victory lap around the circuit. But let's run through the results for you and put them up on screen before we close off for this evening. So as already stated, Patrick Hanko, Royal Blue Racing securing another victory there for the team. Peter Zubek doing well to come home in second place, moving up by one position. And Luca Martino started second place, but the team just didn't seem to have the pace to catch these two front-running guys. They still do well, though, to secure third place and fourth place for Valerio Ferraris. Rigo, again, once more, securing his best results of the season so far for advanced competition after some great racing with Joao Fentus. It could have ended very badly at some points, but they both kept it on track. And then Victor Carbello in the 23 for Toyota Go Sport, both cars coming home back to back, and P7 there for Victor. Christian Olari Lepping in P8, Vladislav Zenkov in 9th, and then Nick Stefanenko for advanced competition in P10, scoring the last few points there. The rest are unfortunately retirees. Vadim Steblin retiring, Francesco in the RC car. Not too sure what happened to that gentleman. He was missing front wing, rear wing, a lot of damage to that car. At the exit of Cops, I believe, it was into the wall on the right hand side. Sadly not able to continue. And then the 99 with Christian behind the wheel, 13th, but also retiring. Once again, if you have enjoyed the racing action, if you want to get in touch with these guys, ASRC, go down to the description below. All the links are available for you there. You can get in touch with them and get in on the action. Formula 3 World Series now concluding here at Silverstone Grand Prix. Now we head to the Nürburgring, which is the next round, 25th of October. Once again, 2 racing rounds, 1 sprint race followed by 1 feature race with the reverse grid to go with, and that will be the final round taking place within Europe, so you don't want to miss that. Make sure you tune in for that one. Should be some great racing action to be had. But that's it from us here at CFS. I hope you have enjoyed the racing action. If you have, please don't hesitate to give us a thumbs up. It helps these guys get all the exposure that they deserve, of course. But for otherwise, from us here at Chequered Simsports, we're going to sign off for the evening. So we bid you farewell and good night. Take care and have fun this evening.